Imagine an entire nation vanishing from history, leaving behind only whispers and prophecies. For centuries, the fate of the lost tribes of Israel has baffled historians and theologians alike. What if I told you their story isn't just ancient history, but a profound mystery still unfolding in our modern world? After King Solomon's death, a united kingdom broke apart. 10 tribes in the north formed their own nation, the Kingdom of Israel, while Judah and Benjamin remained loyal to the house of David in the south. But just 2 centuries later, the northern kingdom vanished, taken captive by the mighty Assyrian Empire and lost to history. Who were the 10 tribes and what became of them? We're going to take a thorough look at that, but first, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know I'm writing a series of novels called Age of the Kingdom, which tell the stories of fictional characters against the backdrop of the reigns of King Saul, King David, and King Solomon. 3 novels are available now, and I've also produced a video trailer to give you a taste. I've included links in the description below. The 12 tribes of Israel are a big part of the stories in the Age of the Kingdom. We always say the 12 tribes of Israel, but if you count them, you find that there are 13 tribal names. What are they and why the difference? The names of the tribes are Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Ephraim, Manasseh, and Benjamin. That's 13, not 12. The tribes got their names from the 12 sons of Jacob, who was later renamed Israel. But if we compare the list of Jacob's sons with the names of the tribes, you find that Jacob indeed had 12 sons. In birth order, they were Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and Benjamin. Why the discrepancy? Well, after the Exodus from Egypt, Aaron, the brother of Moses of the tribe of Levi, became the first high priest, and all their descendants would forever lead the worship of Yahweh. Aaron's descendants as priests and Moses' descendants as Levites, working to support the priests. The tribe was not given land during Joshua's conquering of Canaan, but Levi lived in priestly cities scattered throughout Israel. As a result, the tribe of Levi is not counted when the tribes are listed because they didn't own land. But it was important to maintain the number 12, so they divided the tribe of Joseph with the names of his 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. That way the 12 tribes were preserved, though the tribe of Levi still existed, and that's why there were really 13 tribes. When the tribes are counted after the death of Solomon, the southern nation of Judah included the tribes of Benjamin and Judah plus Levi, because David centralized the worship of Yahweh in Jerusalem. And the northern kingdom had the other 10 tribes, but then around 722 BCE, the Assyrian kings Shalmaneser and Sargon II crushed the northern kingdom. The Assyrians deported much of the population, moving them hundreds of miles east to what is today northwest Iraq and the cities of the Medes in modern Iran. It was a brutal but effective policy: scatter the people, erase the rebellion, and erase identity. In their place, in what had been Israel, foreigners were brought in, and over time, the region became home to a mixed people we later know as the Samaritans. More on them later. And that's where the mystery begins. The Bible never records the return of the 10 tribes, so they came to be called the Lost Tribes of Israel. 136 years later, Babylon, near Baghdad, Iraq today, destroyed Jerusalem, capital of the southern nation of Judah, including Solomon's temple, and many of the people were taken into captivity. Almost 50 years after that, Babylon was conquered by Persia, but the Persian king Cyrus allowed the southern tribes to return and rebuild, so Judah became Judea and continued into the 2nd century. But nothing like that happened for the northern kingdom of Israel. Most scholars today believe they were gradually absorbed, intermarried, assimilated, and blended into the empires around them. But echoes of their story would never fade. People still ask, where did the 10 tribes go? Across the centuries, countless peoples have claimed descent from the lost tribes. The Samaritans in the Holy Land, Beta Israel of Ethiopia, the Lemba of South Africa, the Igbo Jews of Nigeria, the Pashtun tribes of Afghanistan, the Menashe in India, even Native Americans. It's a story scattered like the tribes themselves. Let's take a quick look at each of the people groups who claim to be descended from the lost tribes. Perhaps the group with the strongest claim to descent from the lost tribes is the Samaritans. That's because they never left. A few of them remained in Israel after the Assyrian conquest. They claim descent from the tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh. They have a distinct religion similar but not identical to Judaism. They follow the Samaritan Pentateuch and worship on Mount Gerizim, and they still are there today in what's known as the West Bank. And significantly, there's archaeological and literary evidence for their claim. References in biblical texts such as 2 Kings and Nehemiah in the Old Testament and the Gospels in the New Testament, plus Josephus, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and archaeological excavations at Shechem, the first capital of the kingdom, all point to a long-standing lineage of this community in ancient Israelite territory. Next is Beta Israel, the Ethiopian Jews. I have a Jewish friend who helped in the effort to bring Ethiopian Jews to Israel in recent years. The strongest evidence of a connection to modern Jews among Beta Israel is genetic research. Studies show Beta Israel share ancestry with other Ethiopian populations, but with some genetic links aligning with Jewish communities. Genetic data indicate a shared ancestry dating back to the mid-1st millennium CE, along with the restricted intermarriage maintaining distinct lineages. Then there's a tradition in oral history. Some Ethiopian Jews claim descent from the union of King Solomon and Queen of Sheba, identifying themselves as the House of Israel. However, if true, that would mean that the Ethiopian Jews are descended from the tribe of Judah in the southern kingdom, not the lost tribes of the northern kingdom. Also, most scholars today believe Sheba was in Arabia, probably in the south, possibly modern Yemen. So if Solomon did father a child with Queen of Sheba, the descendants would be Arabs, not Africans. However, the Bible says nothing about an affair, much less a marriage, between Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. Having said that, there are historical accounts which buttress the case for a connection of the Ethiopian Jews to the lost tribes. Recognized for centuries in Ethiopian and Jewish records, they maintain distinct Jewish practices, such as the Sabbath, circumcision, and sacrifices preserved in the Ge'ez scriptures. Next, let's consider the claims of the Lemba people in southern Africa. We'll again consider genetic evidence first. Y-DNA testing identified the Cohen modal haplotype associated with Jewish priestly lineages in one Lemba clan. Subsequent genetic analyses confirmed significant paternal Middle Eastern ancestry, so there is a reason to think this people group has a connection to ancient Israel. But the Lembas also have oral traditions which affirm their ancestors were Israelites or Levites who migrated from the Middle East. They also observe dietary laws akin to kosher rules, practicing circumcision, maintain clan-based structures, and have restrictions on intermarriage. Next, we consider the Igbo Jews of Nigeria. In 2022, just 3 years ago, a Sephardic Jewish-affiliated group issued a ruling affirming Igbo Israelite descent based on oral history and limited genetic evidence. Some oral genealogies go all the way back to Jacob himself. Secular scholars are skeptical, however. Linguistic experts see no Hebrew-Igbo overlap and note a lack of peer-reviewed genetic support. Next, let's consider the Pashtuns of Afghanistan. Many Pashtun tribes historically identify as Bnei Israel, sons of Israel, passed down through oral genealogy stretching back centuries. Their lore includes a migration narrative about an ancestor named Afghana, purportedly the grandson of King Saul, leading into the region now part of Afghanistan or Pakistan. However, Saul's tribe of Benjamin was part of the southern kingdom of Judah, not the northern lost tribes. But there are also those who claim a connection to the tribes of Reuben, Levi, and Joseph. Some Pashtun tribal names, Yusufani, Rabani, and Lavani, are interpreted as echoes of Joseph, Reuben, and Levi. There are genetic arguments for connecting Pashtuns to the lost tribes. Supporters reference the Y-DNA J1 haplogroup prevalent in the Middle East and within some Jewish communities found among Pashtuns as indicative of shared lineage. However, mainstream geneticists caution that this haplogroup is not uniquely Jewish, being widespread in the broader Middle East. No peer-reviewed studies substantiate a direct Pashtun-Israelite link, but proponents argue that cultural practices often survive when genetic markers from 2,700 years ago do not. Pashtuns have continued the practice of lighting candles on Friday evening, circumcision on the 8th day, dietary habits resembling kosher laws like not mixing meat and milk, wearing a side block curl, and even Levirate marriage. Bnei Israel or Bnei Menashe in western India also claims a connection to the lost tribes. First, the genetic confirmation. As recently as 2016, a study was published which showed Bnei Israel was an admixed group with substantial Middle Eastern, that is Jewish, as well as Indian ancestry. This admixture is estimated to have occurred 19 to 33 generations ago, with a male-dominant Jewish contribution. When the modern nation of Israel was established in 1948, many members of Bnei Israel immigrated from India to Israel. Bnei Israel also has oral folklore which recounts a shipwreck off of India's Konkan coast, leaving 7 men and 7 women who integrated locally while maintaining Jewish observances, specifically the Sabbath and circumcision. And that brings us to the least plausible answer about what happened to the lost tribes, the Native Americans. We should note that Native Americans have not claimed this connection for themselves, but the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, commonly known as the Mormon Church, has historically taught that some Native American peoples are descended from the ancient Israelites, specifically from the lost tribes of Israel. The Book of Mormon describes a group of Israelites who left Jerusalem around 600 BCE and sailed to the Americas. However, no credible genetic evidence supports a Middle Eastern or Israelite origin for Native American populations. Instead, genetic studies of Native American populations overwhelmingly show ancestry from East Asian Siberian origins, consistent with migration across the Bering Strait. Maybe the lost tribes were never truly lost, only hidden within the nations of the world for a time. From the fall of Samaria to today's world, their mystery endures, but as time goes on, genetic science, anthropology, and archaeology are bringing clarity. What do you think happened to the lost tribes? Tell me in the comments, and join me next time as we uncover more stories from the age of the kingdom.